Hi, welcome back. So my review for this car is out, and as promised, here is the customization. So I'm going maximum armour. Moving on to the bodywork, we can have these slightly wider arches or the bolted arches. Now I will confess I don't know if the Banshee gets the wider arches, but looking at the photos I think it probably does, so I have gone for those wider arches. Maxing out the brakes and onto the bumpers, well, there's a big choice. They seem to actually be mainly affecting the splitter, and when you look at the car it has just one straight shiny black splitter, so that's what I'm hoping to emulate on here. However, we start to go down. Well, here's the flat splitter on number 2, so I like that. Primary flat splitter, no. Secondary orange. Okay, so if I make my secondary gloss black, I think this is going to be perfect. I see we can also have a carbon one next down, and that's okay, but it's shiny on the photo I have, so I'd rather go shiny. And then these extended ones, they all have the little rods. Well, I don't want massive extended ones with little rods. They're only for the custom crowd. So they're out, so I think I'm left really just with the secondary flat splitter to select. Moving on to the rear bumper, the stock one looks pretty good and close. There are 3 other options, but you can see they're again very much for weird custom builds, so we're going to stay with stock on this one. Engine, will max that out. I didn't think you always had that on electric cars, but there we go. There's only 4 hoods. They all look quite reasonable. The stock hood, however, seems to match the profile of the standard hood the best. It's a little bit more aggressive in the way that the centre hump is done, but it does look the closest, so I'll stay with the stock hood. Just take a look at the liveries so you can see them in case you haven't bought it yet. White stripes look pretty good, so do the black stripes. Oh, those stripes at the back, I wish they were available on some of the earlier Dodge cars that had those, but anyway, never mind. Racing livery is okay. Ragga Rum, yeah, okay, we're into the silly ones now. And another racing one here. Oh, and Sprunk, and then that's your lot. So not too bad, especially having those stripes in there is rather nice. Looks like I am insured, that's good. We won't be putting louvers on the car, but just a quick look through so you can see them. Mirrors. Now, the mirrors on the cars I looked at were black, so I'm going to say stock, which seems to be secondary, and will give me a glossy black mirror, so that looks great. Moving on to the license plate, of course it's completely up to you. I've got one here for my electric cars, buzzing, so we'll pop that one on. We don't know all the colours yet. We can expect them to be bright. There's bound to be a bright green in there, so of course you can really put what you want on at the moment. Now there is a Dodge Charger called Reverence, and it's a resto mod sticking a 69 Dodge Charger body onto a Hellcat. And I think the colour's superb, so thanks to GTAcolour.com I've been able to get a hex and a pearlescent for that, and you see it coming on here. This was great until I selected my classic black secondary as discussed for the mirrors, for the front splitter. I need to find, of course, that is another paint colour, so the secondary dew yellow comes through, and I really don't want that on those. So I only really have one option at this point, which is to go back and make the mirrors carbon and the front bumper carbon. That is matte when I want it shiny, but at least I'm not going to have those reflections. So we just quickly get that done before moving on. I'm really keen, I've got to say, to see this colour out in the sunlight, so we better hurry up. On the interior, I do have a look at the various colours. I do wonder about, should I put some green trimming in there? I mean, obviously the colour is up to you. But I think good taste dictates that we simply go with either a black interior or something between there and graphite, black steel, those sort of colours. I just lifted it a little by selecting black steel. Next we move on to roll cage. I'm not having a roll cage, but there's just a very quick glance at the cages. Moving on to the roof. The stock roof has approximately the right profile, but we don't want it painted. We can't, of course, go secondary. The roof they call the street roof also has that profile and is available as different sorts of roof. So I'm going for the carbon street roof to get the black roof and to also get the approximately correct profile. On the real car, I think it might actually be a sunroof, it's hard to tell, but this works okay. There's quite a few skirts and they're all thankfully pretty subtle. When you look at the car, the skirt is not particularly defined and it most definitely is black, which again means picking any one of the black or carbon options on here. But they're all extended, I think, a little too far, so in the end I just went with the stock skirt. Now there shouldn't be a spoiler on the car. I will fit this ducktail later, as you'll see when I come to do track work, and then it gets taken off again. Here's the rest of them just so you can at least see them. Suspension, when you look at the car, there is a little bit of air over the tyres, so competition is too low. Stock is actually really close and there's not really much harm in leaving stock, but I went in the end for lowered. With lowered there's just a little bit of air between the top of the tyre and the arch, hardly anything, and I think it looks just that bit better and is still very close to the real thing. Wheels, just leave them. These are the Banshee wheels. You're never going to do better than those wheels, so that was easy. And a light smoke on the glass, that's what's shown on the photographs. Well, that's it, it's done. Here it is out in the sun. It's low sun unfortunately, but it's picking up the yellow pearl very nicely. Car looks great. There are a few detailed changes from the original, as we can tell, and the tail is definitely a bit too squared off. But this looks nice, and in your car collection I think you'll be very happy. If you want to know more about how it drives, again move on and look at the review if you haven't watched that already. If you got any value or entertainment whatsoever out of this, I would really appreciate a thumb to help me grow the channel. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching.